Hey, do you know which one of your marketing channels is the most fuel efficient? Let me put that down. Marketing channels. Which one of them is the most efficient? So let's take an example. Imagine you had to go on a long drive with a friend, right? And one of your friends has a car that gives 30 miles per gallon, and another friend who's got a car which only does 15 miles per gallon. Now, which one of these cars are you most likely to take on this trip? Of course, both of your friends are coming, so it's not like either or, but which one would you take? It's most probably the 30 miles per gallon, right? But when it comes to marketing, most of us in the marketing world don't know which one of our channels is the most fuel efficient. So that is what we are going to look at in this little segment. So I'll show you 5 numbers that reveal the marketing miles per gallon. Actually, I've never heard many people refer to this as miles per gallon. Maybe I'm the first one to do this, let's say. Now, if you're coming from one of my previous videos, you already have seen that there is a coefficient term called beta term. Now, to put it simply, imagine if you're shopping for an electrical appliance, let's say a fridge, and each of these appliances come with their own energy efficiency coefficient or rating, if you will. Similarly, every marketing channel has its own efficiency coefficient, which is called as the beta term. And you'll see all these terms being written here and there. So you might see beta 1 equals 4.5, and then there's beta 2 equals 2, and then maybe beta 3 equals 3. Very creative there, but you get the point. So there are all these beta terms, which are nothing but they tell you how efficient each of these channels are. So beta 1 is the first marketing channel, 2 is the second marketing channel, and 3 is the third market. So if you take this example over here, beta 1 equals 4.5, all this means is if you put in $1 into this first marketing channel, you will get 4.5 or $4.50 out of it. And it's as simple as that. And if you take this example, every dollar you put in here, you're going to get $2 back, and in this, you're going to get $3 back. Now, by the looks of it, you'll see that, hey, I want more money. So I always want to optimize for this channel over here, but not so quick. There are a few other terms. Like I said here, 5 terms. Let's keep going. Okay, so we've already seen the first term, the beta term, and this is nothing but your channel's return rate. And usually over here, as it might be obvious by now, the higher the number, the better. Now, the next term is something called as the saturation alpha. And all this means is how fast your particular channel is going to hit a diminishing return. So how fast is going to hit a diminishing return? And usually the values here can be in the range of 0.3 to 1.0. Again, this is just an example. If you run for your media mix, you'll probably get the exact numbers. And along with the saturation number, you'll see a plot that looks something like this, right? Remember this. We'll come back to this in a moment. Let's keep going with the numbers. The next term is the half saturation point. If I can spell half saturation point. So as it seems like in the number, we have half over here, which just means that this is the spend level at which your efficiency drops to percent. So efficiency drops to 50%. So if you take this example again over here with the saturation curve, looks like this is the 50% mark. Again, I'm just eyeballing. So yeah, this would be the half saturation point if we think of this saturation curve. Again, this saturation curve is telling us how quickly we are going to hit the ceiling or the diminishing returns. We'll come back to this in a bit. Okay, the next one is add stock lambda. And typical values here can be 0.1 to 1.0. And all this says is how long will your ads keep working for you after you stop spending on that channel. And here you might see a different kind of curve. If you're doing MMM, you'll probably see something like this for each of your channels. And this is the number of days, let's say, and this is our revenue. And again, we'll come back to this chart as well in a bit. Let's keep going with the last term we want. And the last one is called as peak delay. Not that well known, but it can be between 0 to 8 weeks. And all this says is time to maximum impact. So there we go. Those are the 5 different points or the coefficients or the terms that you can use when you want to calculate the miles per gallon for your marketing channels. So if you have an existing MMM report, or if you're looking for a vendor who does all this, and you might come across some of these terms, and Now you know what each of those mean. Of course, you might have to rewatch this video or read up a bit on it, but you get the idea. So these are very simple terms. And once you understand this, you'll know that MMM isn't that tricky or that challenging that the world makes it seem like. Okay, so going back to this saturation curve, in the x-axis, we of course have the spend, and in the y-axis, we have revenue. And this is in millions, right? It's making millions. And then we can divide this graph up, or this plot up, into three different sections. So let's call it that one is the first section, and then that one is the second section. So this zone over here is the high efficiency zone. So it's like every dollar you put in, you're getting more, and the money is really, really working for you over here. So this is a really good zone. And then this is maybe the yellow zone. Even though I'm using white color, this is where you spend more, but you're not getting as much returns as you would in the initial green zone. But nonetheless, this is still very, very valuable. And then here, this is the final zone, and you'll see all this almost is kind of flattening out, which means every dollar you put in, you're just getting a dollar back. So, I mean, it could work for you, but this is usually the diminishing return zone or the red zone. So let's imagine we are spending around $1 million over here, right? So this is our spend axis. So if you're spending your $1 million, then is there room for us to increase spend on, let's say this is TV? Is there room for us to increase spend on TV to, let's say, $2 million? Of course, there's room. We can always spend wherever we want, but is it logical? Does it make sense? If you look at that, then 2 million might drop here, which means we are in the red zone, and we might not be getting as much returns from this channel as we would like. So if you're purely going after efficiency, then all this green and yellow zone over here, this is perfect for you. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to not go into the red zone. You can, and there are instances where it makes more sense because of the interaction effects between these channels, but we won't go there for now. So that is all about the saturation curve. So we've understood the beta term from the last video and start of this one, and we know the saturation curve. And let's go to the next one, which is fairly important as well. This is the lambda, also known as ad stock lambda. So you'll see this is completely opposite or flipped upside down over here. Let me add two more lines to this and make it a bit more concrete. So maybe we have one more that looks like this, and another one that goes down immediately like that. So let's say this channel over here is a TV channel, and the coefficients are beta equals 2.5, and this ad stock lambda equals 0.6. And this over here, let's say this was Meta ads, and then the beta here was 3.1, but the lambda was 0.3. And then this one over here, let's call it Google ads, and let's say the beta was 4.5, and then lambda was 0.1. Okay, so we have all these terms. What do they mean, and what can we make out of this? So by now we've understood the beta term, which says every dollar we put in, how much money we get back. So here we say if it's 4.5, we're getting $4.5 back if we put in a dollar into this channel. But we see here, this lambda is only 0.1, which means the impact is immediate, but then it fades away. That is the reason why we are seeing a curve like this. And that is all lambda is telling you, how long does this effect last, right? So we see that this effect goes away immediately not within an hour, but maybe in a day or something, right? Next thing, if you say, okay, we are getting $3.1 from Meta, this has a 0.3, maybe it lasts a day or two than this Google channel over here, because this has a lambda of 0.3. So that's how long the effect will last. And then TV, we all know TV ads. We probably remember it even after a week of watching an ad. So here, even though the returns are not that big, meaning every dollar we put in, we are only getting back $2.5, but the lambda is 0.6, which means the effect lasts long. So that is why we don't want to put all the eggs in one basket and say, hey, we just want to run Google ads, because we want a balance of both short-term and long-term effects with TV, Google, and a mix of other channels. Okay, that was kind of a lot today. So tomorrow, or whenever I get another chance, I will reveal some of the industry benchmarks for all these terms that we were talking about today, beta, lambda, and so on, so that you get an idea of what your values could be or where your values could fall within the range, and then you can make a decision. I mean, if you're in marketing, you probably already know those things, but nonetheless, just gives me a reason to make another video. All right.